All right. All right. Can you all hear me? Are we live? Are we live? I'm watching right now. It looks like we are. Hold on one second. Let's make sure everything is going well here. All right. We are up. We are up and running. Thank you very much. Like I said, the first time I did this, I made the mistake of jumping into the topics right away, not letting everyone kind of roll in, not let everyone fill up the room. So I'll give it a few moments so we can get in here and talk about it. This is going to be the most extensive live I've ever put together. I've spent all of Sunday since I got up, did a little work otherwise, it has just been about this. I have 5 different blocks we're going to go through of information. We're going to start with another insane claim from old Tales Timmy about getting shot, which of course, as Nate over at Valhalla said, nice, didn't happen, but nice anyways. We've got more inconsistencies I found. I have some insane information to bring you guys, as well as a photo that is going to be, I think, very hard for people to explain away. So I am ready to go. I have not just one thing of a big Yeti thing of water. I've got a couple of ready to go. Last time I ran out of water. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. There's no way this cannot be real. It is real. We have the videos. You're going to be shocked. Tall Tale Timmy never fails to impress. Here we go. 20 seconds in, and I made it without a notification. LOL. I don't know what that means. Is that good or bad? AC update. We actually are going to get into an AC update later in the show once we get through all of the stuff we're going to get through today, which is Tim Kennedy. We've got some Rob O'Neill stuff that I've been digging into. I'm very excited to share all that. Sergeant Will, what up, David? Love your content, sir. Thank you very much. I do want to say I will be doing super chats between the blocks due to the fact that we have so much to get through, and it is going to be such an intensive show. I won't be able to answer questions generally like I do most of the time in the previous two. So we are going to stick mostly to just super chats. $1, $2, $5, $10, doesn't matter. It all helps. It all makes a huge difference. So anything you guys put it in the super chat, I will be answering questions as we go on. We'll give it a few more minutes. First off, I hope you guys all had a great 4th of July. Hope you guys did whatever you wanted to Friday, spent it with some good people, getting up to some shenanigans. I spent 4th of July with my fiance. We were actually elsewhere because of the dog and the AC situation. So we got an Airbnb. I'm coming back here and I'm filming with no AC. So as you guys can, my Red Dawn. Hold on. Red Dawn's not as much shown. That's worse. I'm trying to make sure Red Dawn, okay, it's rocking, but it should be good. David's back in the sweat box. Yes, I am back in the sweat box. I'm sweating my ass off, but I'm doing it for you guys. Yes, the flooding. The flooding is unbelievably tragic. My thoughts and prayers go out to everybody down there. I've seen the death toll is now dozens and dozens of people. Just a horrific situation. I seriously... It's heartbreaking. Hopefully they're able to save as many people as possible. All right, we're getting real close to getting started here. Once we probably hit 300 concurrents, I will get rolling into what we have. The world, are we on the verge of World War III? The response, we're already in World War III. I don't know. I don't know if we're even close to World War III. I think we're going to be just fine. But if we do get in World War III, we're going to need super soldier Timmy Kennedy. That is for sure. Well, we're not going to war without Timmy K. We need him. If we want to win, he needs to be there. He just simply needs to be there. He's the best shot the United States has at victory. It's just that simple. All right, let's get into it now. Let's get into it. We hit 300 concurrents. I am going to look away from the chat now. If you guys have a super chat, it will pop up. I will be able to see it, and then we will answer your super chat questions as we get into it. So I have notes here. I literally spent all morning writing up 5 different blocks we're going to cover in the live stream, 5 different topics, and they're all I saw that. If Tim Kennedy goes, does anyone else even need to go? Probably not. we're going to get into a couple different things. I'm going to lay out the roadmap for you here so you guys can kind of have an idea of where we're at, what we're doing, what's going to happen. So block one, the first topic we're going to get into is Timmy, a video that a tipster sent me where Tim claims he was shot in Afghanistan and all of that stuff. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to see whether or not that's true, whether or not Tim was shot in Afghanistan as he claimed. Of course, there'll be records and a Purple Heart of that. I'm sure you guys know where that is going. Block two, I've spent an insane amount of time looking into the whole killing women and children thing. There is one video out there from the Sean Ryan show of Tim making such a claim with even the tiniest bit of specifics. We're going to break it down, as well as his infamous now splashing hundreds of rounds into people. Block three, I was given some information and a cool, crazy photo. Cool is probably not the right word. Photo from the fall of Afghanistan I'm going to do. And whether or not Brent Tucker over at the Anti-Hero Podcast, love those guys. They obviously started this. He made some comments about what happened to all the people on the buses after Tim claimed they were tortured and murdered and all that stuff. Brent says he knows for a fact that's not true. I spoke to someone who was there as well in an official military capacity who had plenty of details to share on Tim's claim. He didn't seem very happy about it. I can't reveal identities, can't really get into specifics, but I'm going to tell you what he said, and believe it or not, it backs up Brent quite a bit. Then we're going to get into Rob O'Neill back in the news, and I've spent a lot of time talking to people on the raid, others with information, and there's one piece of Rob's story he's never really been able to account for, and that is who shot bin Laden's wife. And I believe the answer to who shot bin Laden's wife is actually going to blow this case wide open, and we're going to get the truth. I'm working hard to get the truth, and then I will briefly mention, I know Tucker interviewed him. I got a bunch of texts, bunch of comments about it. I will briefly address it. Then we'll get into AC update. I've got a great photo of Dusty the dog. I know that you guys are all curious, wondering what's going on. So let's get into it now. There was a video. Well, first, let's say this. We know for a fact that Tim Kennedy has been credibly accused by his own teammates, ground force commander, all of that stuff, of exaggerating, making up stories. We have the infamous video of the stolen valor Purple Heart. Actually, let me see if I can play that first, just because it's so unbelievably funny. Let me see if I can find it. For anyone who's not seen it, this has been absolutely all over the internet. I want to make sure I have the right one here. Give me 1 second. I'm still using StreamYard, trying to get used to it. Let me see. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Come on. Here it is. All right. Let's play this right now.
Never said anything about,
So this is the video that really reopened the floodgates on Tim. This is what blew open the floodgates, what restarted this. Let's roll it.
I've never said anything about having a Purple Heart or a Bronze Star with a V device.
You sure about that?
Per the source I have here, you have a Bronze Star with a V. Is that correct?
Yep.
Do you mind telling us about what happened there and how you got that?
Oh, pretty straightforward. I think so. There was a bad guy, and bad guy was shooting at us, and I shot him.
All right, let's get that out of the street. So that was the video that really kicked this thing back wide open, because forever, there'd been all those claims on the internet. There'd been all those articles written. It was on, I believe, his IMDb page. It was on other pages, but his lawyer maintained, he never said it. It was other people saying it, so it doesn't really count. And then that video came out, and then finally the floodgates were open. So I have to give credit. I'm going to find this. Where is it? I have to give credit to the woman who sent me this video. This video is the video that put this back out in the wide open. I'm going to pull it up for you. I got this from a tipster. They sent this to me on social media. I'm going to throw it up on the screen for you here.
Ambush.
All right. Let me rewind it. So this comes from a 2012 episode of Deadliest Warrior. Okay. This aired 13 years ago, roughly, give or take what month it aired on. Tim Kennedy, it was Army Rangers versus North Korean Special Forces. Tim Kennedy was in there as someone who was representing the American side. Of course, Tim Kennedy was never in the Army Rangers, the 75th Ranger Regiment. He graduated Ranger School. Those are obviously not the same things. So as you could see, the title of this was Tim Kennedy Lies About Getting Shot. Tim Kennedy lies about, that's about as straightforward as it gets. Well, this is going to be shockingly difficult to believe. This is 100% real. 100% real. I pulled the whole episode, verified the clip. Let's watch what he had to say.
I was in Afghanistan, ambushed, overran, literally shot. Gun saved my life, and the magazine capacity was a big factor in it. And
let's rewatch it.
And literally shot. Gun saved my life.
Sorry, what was that, Tim? What was that?
Literally shot. And literally shot. Gun saved my life.
Tim was literally shot. He was literally shot after being overrun in Afghanistan. By the way, has anyone noticed that in all of TK's stories, the United States military is always getting overrun, always losing, always on the brink of defeat, always in a crisis? Did Tim go on any missions where the U.S. military just rolled in and kicked ass? Or is every mission staring death in the face? That's a great question. I'd like an answer to that. Because I was always under the impression that the United States military, for the most part, rolls in and rolls people. But TK is always on the verge of getting blown out. It's very, very odd. Yes, Tim literally shot Kennedy. Literally shot. I cannot wait to see how they're going to try to wiggle their way out of this one. So he says that, and we don't even need to actually wonder whether or not that's true. Of course, Tim was never shot. I'm laughing at some of the things there. Remember, guys, get your super chats in. I will respond to them after each block when I have time. So we don't even have to wonder really whether or not this is a true story. Of course, we know it's not. There would be proof of it if it were, because this is what the Army sent me about Tim Kennedy's service record. Let's go ahead and look at this. Currently an 18Z Special Forces Senior Sergeant with the rank of Master Sergeant assigned to the U.S. Army Special Operations Detachment NATO, Maryland Army National Guard. 2003, enlisted in the Army as an 11B infantryman. 2005, Kennedy obtained the Special Forces tab and MSO 18B. Weapons Sergeant, was assigned to 7 Special Forces Group. He has served in both the Maryland and Texas Army National Guard. His professional military schools include Ranger School, Special Forces Qualification Course. Each level of the professional development course include Master Leader Course, blah, blah, blah. Combat Infantry Badge, Bronze Star. I have to pull the comments off the screen real quick. Meritorious service record with 2 Oak Leaf clusters, the Joint Service Commendation Medal, Army Commendation Medal with an Oak Leaf cluster, as well as Joint Service Achievement Medal. So I'll leave this up on the screen a little bit longer so you guys can all see it, and you'll know that I'm not making it up. It's 100% true. How do you get shot? How do you get shot? Yeah, and as people are pointing out, there's no V device there. Obviously, we know that to be a fact. How do you get shot and not get a Purple Heart? Is that even possible? Someone who has more experience than me, feel free to let me know in the comments if it's possible you could ever get shot and that you would not have a V device. So this is, quite frankly, one of the most egregious claims from Tales Timmy, as I'm calling him now. To go on national TV and claim that you got shot is so ridiculous when we have your Army service record up on the screen right now. How is he going to explain this one away? Literally shot. Where on the body, Tim? Where did the bullet enter? Where did it exit? What were the circumstances when you got shot? Okay, here we go. Someone who's an expert said, no, it's not. A medical card, a casualty card is filled out. You get evaluated, and then you get an award as long as it's enemy fire. This is, yeah. So, yeah, It's not possible to get shot in combat as part of the United States military and it just not have any record. And I'll tell you this, there's another person out there I know with a pretty large scale, large presence, and in a position of relative power who also might not have been overly truthful about a gunshot wound he received and records about that. So maybe if I get bored one day, I'll look into that even further. So that's the video clip. That's the video clip we have right there matched up against his service records. And yes, so there it is. You see it, you know what it is. And I look forward to him explaining away a video of him on national TV. I want to make that clear. National TV saying he got shot. Give us the details, Tim. I'm going to remove this from the screen. All right, we do have a super chat. Let me see if I can throw this up on the screen. $9.99. I can't. I love this guy, but I can't put it on the screen due to his name, I don't think. It said, yes, that Deadliest Warrior episode was an Army Ranger. The screen name is Ted Bundy's Volkswagen. That Deadliest Warrior episode was Army Ranger versus North Korean soft, but why'd they have him as a Ranger representative sent? TK wasn't 75th. I recall he was the only military guy in the episode. There actually was another U.S. military guy there. I don't know what his background was, so I apologize. But I believe there was more than just Tim as the background. All right, here we go. 2-6. Tim was shot by bird shit from the sky, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's possible. I guess it's possible for 2-6 for 199. Anything's possible with TK. You never know. But what I do know is when I look at his Army record, I'll throw it back up on the screen here. He's got no Purple Heart on there. And as people have pointed out, that show was cool. Deadliest Warrior was a cool show. Back when I was working a summer job way back then in college, we would always, it was mostly guys working the job. We would always talk about Deadliest Warrior because we were a bunch of dudes. We were fascinated by that stuff. So we absolutely loved it. All right, here we go. Impact Nation Tools, $9.99. Thank you very much. Wondering if you have an opinion on Pete Blaber's account of Chapman being a rookie, charging bunker one that only had a donkey and Neil Roberts' body in it. Everything after that was red on red. Look, I haven't finished that episode with Pete Blaber yet. I want to be totally clear about that. Let me get that off the screen. I was watching some of it last night. I still have a little bit to watch today. Not finished with it just yet. I think Pete Blaber comes across as a very smart guy. To be honest with you, a little bit of it was confusing to me when they're talking about who was hearing what radio calls, who might have known what was going on, and was Chapman acting on information that Slabinski and others didn't have. That it's a great episode of the Anti-Hero Podcast. It really goes to show the Anti-Hero Podcast isn't just carving out a lane in this world. It is crushing people right now. It is absolutely crushing people, and it's great to see. All right, so that's block one. That's block one. We're going to go to block two now. So another big thing. So this is block two. I will read new super chats after we're done with this block. Thank you for everyone who's super chatting. It is getting a little bit expensive. We're getting more gear. We're getting more stuff. We're paying for the streaming platform. Every penny helps. I really do appreciate it. You guys are just as big a part of the show as I am. I will finish watching the Pete Blaber episode of the Anti-Hero podcast, and I'll get to you. So let's go here. You'll notice a black box at the bottom of the screen. We're now in block two of the show. You'll notice a black screen. A black box. The only reason there's a black box in this screen is because I didn't want people to see specific headshots of who is liking posts if they're not public individuals. I'm not hiding anything serious, but that's just the way it is. So this post right here is what really, I think, also pushed this thing over the edge. This post blew back up. He says, I've killed kids and women during war. I've seen my friends and fellow soldiers burn. My adult life is filled with things horror movies are made of. Of course, that comment was immediately essentially disavowed and said is not endorsed by nor representative of U.S. Army Special Operations Command. So I searched high and low, started searching the internet the best I could to find any claim that would back this up, that would back up the idea that Tim Kennedy had killed women and children. I was only able to find one story of that ever happening, and it was on the Sean Ryan show. And I'm going to pull it up here. I want to make sure I have the timestamp correct. So it's I'm going to pull it up here. Give me a second. I'm still working on that. All right. So let me see if I can share my screen here with you all. I'm going to remove this from the screen. This is from the Sean Ryan show. All right. It is sharing. I'm going to add it to the screen right now. Come on. Where is it? Where is it? Stick with me, guys. I'm doing my best here. Okay. Add to stage. This is the only evidence I ever found of this. Let's go ahead and play Tim Kennedy talking about making a 600-yard sniper shot on what he thought was possibly like an 11-year-old, I think, that had a non-functioning rifle. Let's. For context, Tim is saying there what he thought it was going to be like. That's not something he actually did. He was saying that's what he thought it was going to be like. Now he's going to say what it actually was. All right. So there he's talking about when the shot is made and they're moving in their direction of travel. And now he's going to tell a story about how he goes and retrieves this gun, which he is hanging up in his office. And then I'm going to break down a lot of things before we get into some pretty interesting responses to people who were there. Okay, there's also I'm going to skip ahead briefly here because there's also a part where he goes back to this narrative that they're just getting their asses handed to them. Apparently. All right, hold on. How is this 11-year-old kicking the ass of U.S. Special Forces with a weapon that either did or didn't function? We don't know. And he's 11 years old with a gun that's 150 something years old, and he's dominating this convoy. This 11-year-old is raining hellfire with an old musket on U.S. Special Forces. Does that sound believable to any of you? Does it sound believable that the most elite military unit on the world in a convoy with Green Berets who go through some very difficult training, somehow were getting torched by an 11-year-old. Pretty suspect. But I do want to hedge here. I think it's very possible. Okay, someone's pointing out lever action, not a musket. My bad. I'm not an expert on firearms. So if I mess that up, I apologize. I don't think it's impossible that Tim Kennedy has an old style rifle that possibly he brought back, and he has the 2 different JAG orders that were signed hanging up somewhere. I don't doubt that's possible. But let me pull up my phone real quick, because let me make sure I'm doing this in order. I got to double check my notes. Yes, I am doing this in order. So Travis, do we all know Travis? Okay. This is a text message. Travis saw this being talked about. Travis Warlock was the ground force commander of the infamous, legendary, famous, infamous. I don't want to say infamous because that has a bad connotation. It's become infamous thanks to this book that was written and all the disputing counts. So Travis Warlock was the ground force commander of this convoy, of this operation, which is what Tim Kennedy appears to, in the timeline, pinpoint this event happening, because he's talking about 3 days in the valley, which is when it's been discussed, is referring to the firebase Anaconda and the convoy there. So Travis texts me. I can't throw these texts up on the screen. I asked him if I could read them out. He said, yes, that would be fine. Did Tim Kennedy shoot an 11-year-old at 600 yards? No, I never heard that, nor did anyone else on the team that I spoke to. I was not aware of anyone recovering a rifle from the battlefield to take home. Either situation, TK taking a 600-yard sniper shot hitting a child or recovering a rifle from that engagement would have generated talk among the team. No security element left the beaten path the convoy was taking. I never stopped so that an element of the convoy could maneuver independently 600 yards to recover that rifle. He rode in our team vehicles back from Firebase Anaconda to Kandahar. We had 4 team vehicles. The likelihood that he had a foreign weapon in one of our trucks would not have escaped our attention. So that is Travis Warlock. Also, Travis Warlock, home of runs Appalachian tactical acquisition courses. I might go shoot with him. I haven't shot in a long time. I should probably improve my shooting skills a little bit more. But that comes directly from Travis. I'm going to read that again just for anyone who missed it. Did Tim Kennedy shoot an 11-year-old at 600 yards? No, I never heard that, nor did anyone else on the team. And for clarification, Tim says 11 or 12, not that it makes any difference. I was not aware of anyone recovering a rifle from the battlefield to take home. Either situation, TK taking a 600-yard sniper shot, hitting a child, or recovering a rifle from that engagement would have generated talk among the team. No security element left the beaten path the convoy was taking. I never stopped so that an element from the convoy could maneuver independently 600 yards to recover that rifle. He rode in our team vehicles back from Firebase Anaconda to Kandahar. We only had 4 team vehicles. The likelihood he had a foreign weapon in one of our trucks would not have escaped our attention. So that is directly from the ground force commander of the mission. Okay? That's from the guy running the show. He didn't see it. He didn't hear about it. No one he talked to saw it. No one he talked to heard about it. Either the 600-yard shot or the weapon that he took back. Again, I'm not, as Brent Tucker would say, I'm not going to hang my hat on this. I'm not going to hang my hat on the fact that Tim Kennedy might have an old lever action or some kind of old 1875 gun hanging up in his office with stamped letters of approval from the JAG officers. That's possible, I guess. The problem I'm having is the 600-yard sniper shot that took out an 11, 12-year-old who's armed with a weapon that either did function or didn't function, and he was using this 1875 weapon to kick the ass of U.S. Special Operations. Again, it goes back to TK. Everyone is talking about, every story is they're on the brink of getting overrun. Apparently this time they're on the brink of getting overrun by an 11-year-old. I'm sorry, guys. Let me know in the chats. Does any of this sound realistic? Do we think an 11-year-old is overrunning the United States special operations units? I would say seems very unlikely. But we shall see. We shall see there. But the other problem for Timmy is I know this for a fact because I spoke to the Army, Special Operations Command. I spoke to a lot of people over there doing a lot of research. The Army's having a hard time finding documents to back up the claim Tim Kennedy killed women and children. And they are looking for those documents. Part of the problem is it's hard to pinpoint documents when broad claims are made. When claims are made that, oh, I just killed women and children. When you say stuff like that, it makes the Army's job of finding where these documents are, if they exist at all, to be clear. And I want to be clear about that. It makes the Army's job insanely difficult. The problem with what Tim did here is he put a data point that can be used to track down a frame of reference, a time window. So I can tell you, we have re-engaged with this new information, this video, and the time frame. And we are confident that the Army will be able to find these documents about whether or not Tim Kennedy took a 600-yard sniper shot and killed an 11-year-old. And if there was any documentation of that at all, we will have it. On top of that, we still can't find proof of the dead women. Nobody can. I have not been able to. I'm scanning everything. This is the only evidence I can find about a dead kid. We will see. We will see. All right, we've got a couple super chats. I'm going to read mid-block. Get your, because we've got another part of this Sean Ryan story I want to go over that some of you might not have recognized before. This is, so I'm going to read some super chats, get them in real quick. This comes from Rico Siegel, 10 euros. I've never seen anyone get paid in euros before. I love that. I'm Irish. We disown this Kennedy. By the way, you should try and get an operator from Ireland's Tier 1 element, the Army Ranger Wing ARW on the show. Cheers from Ireland. I'm actually going to Ireland in April. This upcoming April, I will be in Ireland. If you have any recommendations, I'll be in Dublin, outside of Dublin. That is actually where I'm getting married. I will be getting married in Ireland. I don't want to say specifically where, but thank you for the 10 euros. We got Ocean Freediving. Great channel. Keep up the momentum. $20. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ocean Freediving. We've got Bing Bang Bong. I used to believe that this was tougher than a woodpecker's lips. I now realize, oh my gosh. Thank you. I don't want to read that. I feel like YouTube might have some issues with it. So that's where we are on the women, and that's where we are at on the women and kids claim. We have one story about him shooting a kid 600 yards away. The Army is using that information and looking if they can find any documents, because that would have been documented. They're confident it would have been documented. No witnesses can back that up. And I want to be crystal clear. I am more than fair. I put feelers out from Tim's time in Iraq and Afghanistan. Anyone who can say that they witnessed this stuff is free to come on this show, and I will give them the platform where they can back up seeing people burn to death. They can back up watching men and women and children die. They can back up all of the people who died. They can back up his 200 gunfights. They can back up the claim he killed or took shots at triple digits people. Anyone who has that is welcome in here, and I will be more than happy to give them this platform. Would you like to know how many people have taken me up on that offer? 0. Not one. Now I've been able to find one person to back up his claims. Very interesting. All right. Now let's get into the next part of the block. I'm going to stop. No. I'm sorry. This is still in this. This has been talked about before. It's been talked about on the Anti-Hero podcast. I've actually written about it before, but it stems from the Sean Ryan show, and it stems from Tim's book. Again, this is something we have no credible proof to suggest ever happened. I got to find the timestamp. It's at 2:55. Let me fast forward here. All right, hold on. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this. For those of you who haven't seen this before, this again was in Tim's book. It is in the Sean Ryan show. It has been discussed at length with Travis, with the Anti-Hero podcast. I've written about it. I've interviewed Travis about it. We're going to get into all of that and more, but let's watch it. Hold on. Okay. Listen to that. That's going to be key here. So let's rewind.
Every night.
All right. I want to see, a couple hundred rounds a night, couple rounds. I want to make sure I'm getting the couple hundred rounds a night. Here we go.
And that.
All righty. Well. That's very interesting. Couple hundred rounds a night, 2 rounds, couple rounds. He's splashing these bodies. His words. That means 100 bodies. He's hitting 100 bodies with the thermal imaging, targeting them. 100 a night. He's doing this every night. Now, I don't know, is this every night for 3 days? Is it every night for 5 days? Is it 300 people? Is it 500 people? How many people has Tim Kennedy shot? Because he did say previously it was triple digits in a different interview. We've played that clip here before. Now it's this. Well, here's the problem with that. I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. Here's the problem with that. Let me get my notes pulled up so I can make sure I get this right. This comes from the Anti-Hero podcast, part 1 of the Book of Lies, as they called it, or I believe that was the podcast title. All right. The timestamp on this, and this is important because I'm showing this because it reads directly from Tim's book. I'm going to share this on the screen. All right. So in the Sean Ryan show, couple rounds into everybody, hundreds of rounds a night. That puts the minimum kill count at 100 per night, 100 people per night. This dude's racking it up like nobody can imagine. But is that the same story that he told in his book when addressing the event? Let's see. Here we go. Listen to Brent here. All right, so we'll stop sharing that. The reason I show that, love the guys at the Anti-Hero podcast. Please follow them. They're the ones who really blew this story wide open, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. The reason I just showed that clip is because I don't have a copy of the book. Mine, they gave me a free one, actually. True story. The publisher sent me a free one. I think I gave it to my brother-in-law And I don't know if he burned it or threw it in the trash or whatever happened to it. What was different in the book version from the Sean Ryan version? In the book version, it sounds like it's a one-off event. Happened one time. In the Sean Ryan version, it's happening every night, hundreds of rounds. It's these details. It's these details that will always get you. Details will always bring you down in the end. Because once you start changing your story, holes are going to start getting poked everywhere in it. So we go from it's a one-time event to it happened many nights. At a minimum, if you do the math on his own comment, 100 people. All right. Very interesting. Did this actually happen? Well, that's a great question. Where is the video? Pull it up right here. Let me get the timestamp for you. Travis, the same guy who texted me this morning about the claims of shooting an 11 or 12-year-old, he appeared on the Anti-Hero podcast, and he spoke to me previously about this on the record. And I'm going to show you his on-the-record comments to me, and I'm going to show you what he said on the Anti-Hero podcast. Let me get that up on screen. Make sure to get your super chats in now. We're getting close to another block break. I will read whatever super chats come up next during that. All right, share screen. This is part 2. Let me get it up on the screen for you there. Where is it? Add to stage. All right. I want to make sure I didn't. Hold on. Oh, my bad. Hold on, guys. My bad. I didn't realize that happened. I did not realize that happened. Let me fix that for you all real quick. So if you guys in the chats are saying you didn't see it, you didn't see it. Okay, here we go. My bad. They're saying they didn't see it. I'm going to pull it up right now. We're going to add to the screen. I got to find it. All right. So you guys are saying that you guys didn't see it. All right. We'll play it again. My bad. If there was an issue, my bad. Okay. Let's play it right now.
Where there is a sea of humanity lying on the ground, some dead, some wounded, some pretending to be dead to avoid being slain. And there's always that throwaway shot of the plungers walking the lines of bodies and stabbing anyone that didn't look quite dead enough to make sure that they wouldn't live to fight another day. As the only sniper, today this is my job. It is a terrible job, and I do not want it. We had barely lived.
Don't worry, Tim, you didn't have it.
Barely lived through the night, and we couldn't afford to have these guys re-engage us as we drove past. So the RG used its thermals to identify bodies that still had red heat signatures, and they dialed me in. I'd get on target with my scope, and if that body had a weapon, I'd put a round through it. Young or old, it didn't matter. If they had a gun, they died. Details.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this. He was just so low on ammo that he was empty on almost everything and had so few sniper rounds left that he was going to have to kill someone for their AK, right?
No, apparently he's got enough to shoot at dead bodies.
Now he's got enough to shoot at dead bodies for 2 hours. So that's nothing short of amazing.
All right. So did you guys see it that time? Let me know in the comments. I just want to make sure 100% that the Sean Ryan, did the Sean Ryan clips play too? Let me know in the comments if you heard the Sean Ryan. If not, I will go back and play that too. But it looks like you guys probably did see it. They're saying you did see the Sean Ryan where he talked about the couple of hundred. Let me know in the comments if you guys saw that or not. And then I will now fix that mistake. So this is now Travis on the Anti-Hero podcast. Where is it? Share screen. All right. Let me get it up there so you guys can see it. I do apologize for that. I'm still learning this the best I can. All right. So the reason, again, that's important, and in the book, it's a one-time incident. in the Sean Ryan episode, it is every night, hundreds of rounds. Obviously, those two things cannot be true at the same time. But did any of this even happen to begin with? Did any of these insane claims even happen to begin with? Well, let's see what Travis, who texted me this morning, had to say about it.
Would be difficult for it to happen, where he says he was using the crow system of the vehicle to identify the sea of dead bodies, their heat signatures, and using his sniper weapon to just, I believe he said, and I don't believe, I know he said for hours he had to engage either dead bodies or people pretending to be dead or people who were wounded for, off this sea of bodies, because he had to make sure they were all dead in order to protect you guys, so you guys could leave without them jumping up and playing dead and attacking you guys.
Yeah, so he made the reference to painting this picture as here's another movie take of it out of Braveheart, with all the bodies just laying around
right.
everywhere.
Yeah, right.
And this is something that, gosh, Tim, even if you did do that, man, why in the hell would you talk about it? You made us look like idiots. I mean, back to imagine one day after Trump, if we have another Democrat presidential president come in, when you understand how ambassadors are given out, the only thing they are just people that made extravagant campaign contributions.
Right. That's
all they are. They're their cronies for the most part. So you can imagine some of these little third world countries that we would go into for FID, JSETs, and an ambassador not having any idea what an SF team is until their little Ivy League assistant came up and said, well, sir, I read this book by Tim Kennedy, and apparently they just shoot people laying on the ground with barely a heartbeat as long as they had a gun around them, irregardless of the Geneva Convention, Article 12, 14, 15, 16, and Rule 47, which, Tim, you filleted yourself, brother, when you did that. So I'm doing you a favor by telling everybody that did not happen. Right. So the international criminal courts won't come after you. It did not happen.
All right, let's so this is Travis saying point blank, it absolutely did not happen. For anyone who might have missed it, let's hear him say that again.
Yeah, so I'm doing you a favor by telling everybody that did not happen. Right. So the international criminal courts won't come after you. It did not happen.
So there is Tim's boss on the mission, Travis, saying it did not happen. It absolutely did not happen. But you don't just have to take Travis's word for it on the Anti-Hero podcast. Why not? Because I've spoken to Travis about it, and I've spoken to the Army about it. So I'll throw this up on the screen for you. I got to hide comments just briefly. And Travis, when he spoke to me, brought up a great point that I don't even know. I don't know if he brought it up in the Anti-Hero podcast. If he did, then I must have missed it, or it just slipped past me. Very possibly did, but he certainly brought up the point to me. Let's read this. Kennedy, this is given when I was Outkick.com. When I wrote this at Outkick.com, I spoke to Travis. I spoke to Tim's attorney, Tim Parlatore, and this is a screenshot from the article saying Kennedy's attorney, Tim Parlatore, told Outkick exclusively that Kennedy maintains the story is true, but was justified given the circumstances and tactics, and that what he did was being done under a lawful order. That is an on-the-record statement from Tim's attorney. Yes, Tim shot all those people, possibly hundreds of them, using the thermal imaging. You listened to his own story. You heard them read it from his book. They are sticking to it, and he was ordered to do it. That is their version of events. So I talked to Travis. He told me, absolutely no, that did not happen because there was nobody on the ground to shoot. That's ridiculous. Travis told Outkick exclusively. The ground force commander of the mission further told Outkick that nobody other than himself could legally issue the order to engage people in such circumstances. And while anything is possible, he's hard-pressed to believe the other two officers on the mission ordered him to do it without him knowing. If this had happened, I would have heard the shots. We would have all heard the sniper shots going off, grabbed our gear to figure out where it was coming from. None of that happened. This is the point that Travis brought up that is so unbelievably critical. Travis also said Tim should name the individual on the thermals who was spotlighting the targets he was allegedly shooting. He also told Outkick the only memorable moment from that point in the timeline was needing to clear an IED and that shots weren't just ringing out. So the boss says we had to clear an IED, but there were no just shots ringing out. Who was running the thermals? Who was calling in the targeting? That's a great question. That is a great question. Now, as you can see, Travis in the anti-hero clip I just played said that listed off all these Geneva Convention regulations and rules that would allegedly violate. Tim Kennedy's attorney says, no, they wouldn't violate those. It was lawful and he was ordered to do it. These are where we start seeing a splitting off of things. Well, does the Army have any record of this happening? Let's see about that. So I reached out to the Army to see if they had any proof about whether or not he had laid waste, whether one time, 2 times, 3 times, just laid waste to hundreds of people using this thermal imaging who may or may not have been wounded, may or may not have been actively fighting. Again, the details are where you're going to get crushed. Okay? They say, thank you for your query. There are no investigations ongoing in this matter. It is important to note Mr. Kennedy's views in his personal capacity does not currently represent USASOC. If any allegations imply violations of the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or laws of armed conflict, they would be assessed by the appropriate investigative authorities. At this time, USASOC is not conducting any investigations related to these claims. Despite this is in the statement I'm saying, despite the fact people have claimed they are war crimes, which Tim Kennedy's attorney disputes. Both sides are in there. Allegations of war crimes are taken with the utmost seriousness, and any such claims, if credible, would prompt a thorough investigation. See, notice how they said if credible, as if there's no proof any of this existed, would prompt a thorough investigation by the appropriate military or federal authorities. At this time, USASOC has not been informed of or initiated any investigations into the allegations mentioned in your inquiry. We remain committed to the highest standards of integrity and accountability within our formations. For further inquiries related to specific legal interpretations or investigations, we encourage you to contact the Department of Army Office Public Affairs or the appropriate legal authorities, which I believe I did at the time, and they didn't say anything to me. So we're getting to the end of block 2. Get your super chats in. I'm going to close the loop on this block, and then we're going to do some more super chats. We've got Tim Kennedy saying he shot. We've got Tim Kennedy saying he shot an 11 or 12-year-old at 600 yards, has the weapon that kid used to, quote, apparently just dominate the United States military. We've got that. That cannot be backed up, at least the claim about the shooting. Travis says he didn't see it. He didn't know anything about it. And nobody else he talked to knew anything about it. We've got Tim claiming on the Sean Ryan show that he splashed hundreds of rounds night after night after night. When the book version happens, it's a one-time incident, but it might not really matter at all because Travis is on the record not once, but twice saying this event never happened. And the Army said if there were credible accusations of war crimes, they would look into it. So that's the end of block 2. These sniper stories are so fantastic, and yet nobody is able to back any of this stuff up. Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. Let's see what we got. I don't know if I read this one yet. This is 2-6. I regret I used to defend Tim when someone would call him a liar, fraud. I felt like an idiot after realizing how ridiculous his stories sounded. Dude, you're not alone. Don't feel bad. I've interviewed Tim twice, as I've talked about, and apologized for doing it. Say I regret doing it. The shooting of person or day combat enemy out of the fight is a violation of the Geneva Convention, lay a war crime, according to Sergeant Will. Well, that's what Travis said. Travis said that it is a war crime. And it did not happen, though. It's a fake war crime, according to Travis. It was alleged, but not at all accurate. So again, these details, it's always crazy how the details get you. Here we go. $5 from MZ. Tim's partner on the show was Matt Livelsberger. He is the guy that blew up the Cybertruck. I think that was a different show. I don't think that was Deadliest. I don't think that was Deadliest Warrior. I believe that was a different one where they were doing military stuff. And of course, Tim milked that for everything it was worth. Hold on. Have you seen the doc Send Me that features TK about Afghan withdrawal? If so, do you think all these current, former, and military are full of it also? No, I don't think most people are lying. I have seen that documentary. We're actually going to talk about some Afghanistan stuff. Also, you can see on the bottom of the screen where you can find me at Instagram and X. Instagram, David_Hookstead, X, D Hookstead. We've got, sorry I'm behind. If you YouTube one man with a rifle, Tim Kennedy, it's him showing the rifle he took and brought home. Oh, here we go. This will be actually good. Let's look this up. Let's look this up. So this is from a year ago. I'm going to pull this up. Let's see if he has a photo of it. So he does. Okay, this is interesting. So, hey, we're all about fairness here. I'm going to put this on the screen. Oh, I got to pull an image down. Hold on. Apologies. All right. In the name of fairness, here we go. This is TK with a rifle. I'm getting this news. So we're going to throw this up here. All right. I'm going to pull up the transcript here. I need to be very careful to make sure there's nothing in this video. All right. Let's watch this together, actually. Let's watch this together and let's see what TK had to say. And I will find out whether or not this is accurate. Remove. All right. Share screen. One man with a rifle, it is called. Let me add this to the screen for you all. All right. Let's watch TK and what he had to say.
It was in 2008. The vehicle in front of me explodes and the whole entire world goes black.
If you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun.
Something became extraordinarily clear in this valley. That is that a single man fighting for his.
Now I want to make it clear. Now this is 2008, which again, this can be looked into. He's given dates now. This is very good. This is actually great. So he's giving dates. Now it's 2008. Let's see.
His land is an insurmountable force. Just one person making a choice to fight for what they love and what they stand for. That is a hard thing to defeat. I keep on my wall this rifle right here. I brought this rifle back from Afghanistan, and I had CENTCOM say that I was allowed to bring it back. I had USASOC, who I was working for. They said that I could bring it back. You see the CENTCOM JAG signature. We have the paralegal from Special Operations Command. And this rifle came from the Urzgan Valley. I later find out, a young man that was walking the ridgeline. It was dusk. We've been blown up. We've been in this tick. We've been in this troop in combat for a day and a half. And on the horizon, walking on this ridgeline, is clearly a military-age man in the middle of an ambush carrying a rifle.
Whoa. He says now it's clearly a middle-aged man. I don't know about you, but 11-year-olds to me don't clearly look like military-age males. All right. Very interesting. Now it's a clearly, he's leaving no doubt now. Now it's clearly a military age man.
He's 400 or 500 meters away.
All right. Now he's 400 to 500 meters away. Previously it was 500 to 600. Again, details matter.
And I shoot him. This is in our direction of travel. When I get there, you know, this is hours later by the time we actually make it to where he was. This is the rifle that was in his hands. This is the rifle that he clearly was a low-level Taliban soldier that was probably being used for resupplies. Was he one of the foreign fighters that was there?
Hold on, folks. This is huge. The person who sent me this video deserves huge credit. On the Sean Ryan show, it's an 11-year-old. Now when he gets to the body, it's a Taliban, a low-level Taliban fighter who is clearly a military-aged male. This is not at all the same. I can't believe we're watching this in real time together.
That were there. There were lots, hundreds of them that had been imported from a bunch of neighboring countries to include Iran. But this young man was carrying this rifle. They have defeated every single superpower that have come into their sovereign borders for, like a recorded history. You go back to Genghis Khan, right? They beat the British, they beat the French, beat the Americans, they beat the Russians. When I say beat, I mean, we spent how many trillions of dollars fighting in the Middle East, specifically in Afghanistan, to then evacuate in one of the most humiliating evacuations in American history. And it was one man with a rifle. I have this rifle on the wall to remind me, one, about the importance of the Second Amendment, to remind me how powerful it really is when an armed group of people standing for what they believe, how difficult.
All right, let's rewind this. Dude, the dude who sent me the super chat to look this up, this is actually mind-blowing. I'm reacting to this in real time. Hold on. Where did he say it was an adult man or military age male? Let me look.
USASOC, who I was working for, they said that I could bring it back. You see the CENTCOM, JAG signature. We have the paralegal from Special Operations Command. And this rifle came from the Urzgan Valley. There was, I later find out, a young man that was walking the ridge line. It was dusk. We've been blown up. We've been in this tick. We've been in this troop in combat for a day and a half. And on the horizon, walking on this ridge line, is clearly a military age man in the middle.
All right, clearly a military age man. Let's drill down on this. It's clearly a military age male man
with an ambush, carrying a rifle. He's 400 or 500 meters away, and I shoot him. This is in our direction of travel. When I get there, you know, this is hours later by the time we actually make it to where he was. This is the rifle that was in his hands. This is the rifle that he clearly was a low-level Taliban soldier that was probably being used for resupplies.
All right. Well, there's the video. There is the video. It went from I just got a text. Oh man. Hold on, guys. I just got a text. Everyone hang tight. Everyone hang tight. Let me ask for clarification real quick. All right, this is I want to hedge here. I want to hedge here because now we've already seen splits in the stories. In the Sean Ryan show, we've got a 3-day whatever Valley convoy, and he shoots an 11-year-old who he sees at 600 meters. Now he shoots what's described as a military age male, a young man, a low-level Taliban. Okay, so it is. And Okay, so this is saying, I'm just going to put this out there. This is coming from Travis. He's watching. Thank you for watching, Travis. Thank you for giving us the information. He says the rifle he's showing is left over from the British invasion of Afghanistan, 1839-ish. Those rifles, Afghans sell in open markets. I bought several of them and brought them back. The ATF allowed it as an antique rifle if it was made before the 1900s. Make no mistake, Tim did not bring that rifle back from the convoy. So that is Travis. That is Travis himself. He is watching right now, saying that video is not 100%. That video is not 100% accurate. I just want to point out that in the Sean Ryan show, it's an 11-year-old. In reality, when he shows it in his house, it's an adult age, military age, low-level Taliban fighter. Again, he says nothing in that video about it being a little kid, because in the Sean Ryan show, he's talking about how this tears him up. It reminds him of war, the horrors of war. He did do the whole Second Amendment song and dance. He is saying the same story about how one person is able to defeat the most powerful military on the planet. And the Sean Ryan show, it's an 11-year-old kid kicking the shit out of the U.S. military with a rifle that may or may not be operational. It's the details. The details are going to get you. And remember how I said I don't doubt that he could have a rifle on a wall? I didn't doubt that part of the story. It was the other part of the story. We shall see. All right, here we go. We're going to get this super chat on the screen. Oh my gosh, it's the same thing. Guys, it's the same thing Travis just texted me. The rifle he brought home was probably bought at the bazaar at Kandahar Airfield, then gets signed off by the JAG officer at Camp Brown and CAF. I know this because I did the same to get mine home. Only needed one JAG to sign off on mine for $49.99. Hey, thank you very much for the big super chat, guys. Please keep sending the super chats. I'm reading as many as I can. If anyone does know, if anyone else has an experience with getting these guns home, please let me know. Feel free to super chat it. I might look at that even if it's not a super chat. That's now 2 people who said that, no, you could just buy these guns. If that's true, if it's true, he bought this and did not take this off a dead body. That is insane. And we've already seen different parts of the story here. Now I want to make sure that let me see. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing. Oh, he's okay. So I do want to correct myself. Okay, so I actually do have to correct myself. He does say here a child. Hold on. So at the end of the video, he says, I'm going to put this back on the screen. I'm going to put this back on the screen so it is out there. Is my screen still sharing here? All right. So he does it now. Now it's back to being a child. Here we go.
I had good friends that got hurt real bad there. And, a child was beating the largest superpower on the planet with a weapon that's 120 years old. Freedom matters.
Now it's a child. In the same video, we've gone from low-level Taliban fighter, young man, military age male, and a child. This minute is about 4 minutes long. And we've had 4 different descriptions for the person who got shot. So in total clearness, or to be as clear as possible with everyone, I saw that video for the first time, and I can't believe what I'm looking at. I'll remove it from the screen. So that actually was meant to close the segment. You do have it starred. I do appreciate all the super chats. That was the last super chat actually saying the exact same thing. Unbelievable. But that's not all we have. That's not all we have right now. I'm going to start removing some of this stuff. Sorry. Oops. Stop screen. All right. So, yeah, guys, I don't really know what to say there. We've got people texting. Sorry. We've got people texting me one thing. We've got people in the chat saying you could literally just buy those and bring them home. And we've got a story where the person may or may not have changed many different times. I'd be curious, would there be a receipt? Would there be a receipt where you could have those? Would it be documented? I don't know, but very odd, very odd. Sorry, I kind of lost point in my notes there, but I'm going to get back up right now. All right. So while we're on the topic of Afghanistan, let me look something up. Let me look something up just so I am able to make sure. All right. Hold on. I'm getting another thing. All right. So Travis just sent me a photo of damn near the same thing that he has and says there are receipts required to go through customs. So there would be some level of paper trail that would also be there. Travis, you have been hopping in with a bunch of information here. This is great. Please keep it up. I'd be very curious. So sorry, I'm trying to read some of this stuff. All right. So while we're on the subject of Afghanistan, let's talk about Afghanistan a little bit more, because I was watching the Anti-Hero podcast on the Thursday night live stream, and I want to make sure I have that here. I don't think we need that anymore. I was watching the Anti-Hero live stream right here. I'm going to go ahead and share this. Move from studio. Share screen. All right. Let me add this to the thing. So as we all know, Tim made it a little bit of his brand to go to the during the fall of Afghanistan, the tragic fall of Afghanistan. He went there and kind of turned it into this thing. You know, we're going to rescue X amount of people. And I'm going to be very careful about what I say here, because I don't have nearly the information that other people do. I want to make that crystal clear. Brent has light years more information about this than I do, and he's going to talk about that here. I'm certainly not going to be getting ahead of him, disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. But what he said on the live cast Thursday night, they do a great Thursday night live stream. Him, Tyler Hoover, the Anti-Hero podcast, he had some very interesting comments to make about Tim's time in Afghanistan. Let's go ahead and play what Brent had to say. Let me make sure I got the right timestamp here. So it's at 3. All right. This is Brent, and this is him talking about Timmy K's time in Afghanistan in reaction to a Sean Ryan show. Let's play it right now.
Okay, here we go.
Every mission went well. You know, we were bringing.
All right, so that's the backdrop. That's what Tim said on that is what Tim said on the Sean Ryan show, talking about what happened. And Brent, as you can see by his facial reaction, is a little confused, as to what Tim is talking about. Seems very intrigued. Why might Brent be so intrigued? Well, let's watch Brent's comments.
Buses through Blackgate.
Let's talk about that just real quick. I've been on some phone calls of people who were a part of that. And let's shed some light on that real quick. Of course you weren't a part deeply of that, because you were there barely for 24 hours. So there's no way you could have been deeply a part of anything. You hopped on something that would have been a great photo op and ended up being something that blew up in your face. There was a massive security threat that you wouldn't have known about because you're not tied into anything and you were barely there. But they knew there was a massive security threat of suicide bombers. And everyone who came on that tarmac had white wristbands or indicators of some sorts that they had come through the checkpoint. When it was found out that these guys essentially smuggled 7 busloads of people and they were trying to get on planes with no wristbands, which means they did not get checked in any way, a colonel came up and had questions. Why wouldn't you have questions for the security of the base that you're in charge of? And if someone would have probably had a cooler head and talked to this colonel and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is who these people are. Let's just talk about it. Tim Kennedy basically had this, do you know who I am moment? And inserted himself and pissed off the colonel. And so the colonel basically was like, well, do you know who I am, what rank I have, and what I can do? And sent the buses back. You want to be a dick? That's what happens.
Let me pause it right there real quick. Is anyone, as I said before, surprised by the story Brent is telling right now? And we'll get into it a little bit more. Is anyone surprised by that at all? Feel free, hit me with a super chat if you're surprised. Let me know in the comments. Are you surprised Tim allegedly had a do you know who I am moment according to Brent's sources? Let me know in the comments. Hit me with the super chats if that surprises you. Some tells me it won't.
And so Tim Kennedy inserted himself and effed up the whole situation. Not my words, other people's words. But here's the craziest part of this whole story. He said they got sent back out and tortured and killed. You want to know what happened to all of those people on the buses that were turned around?
Absolutely.
They were eventually put on planes and they made it back to wherever they were going just fine. That was a lie. They didn't get tortured and killed. All of them eventually made it on the planes because they went back through the gate the right way. Because they were who they were supposed to be. Got on. What an absolute, I try to be professional. What an absolute piece of shit thing to say that this colonel turned these people around and the blood of 7 busloads of people are on his hands. I mean, if that truly happened, that colonel has to go to sleep at night and deal with this. Except for the fact they all made it out okay. Don't worry, I'll bring receipts. There's more where that came from. I'm telling you, I'm on a war path. There will be another episode soon, and we are going to hopefully have the same effect the first podcast has. Because the first podcast.
All right, let me see if I can find the other part here. All right, here we go. There is another part from this that I think is really good. That was a bit of a bombshell.
Everything he said about combat was a lie. What makes you think he just tells the truth about getting people out? People have sent me things about that before, but I've never been able to actually verify it. I can tell you right now, I can verify it, that Tim Kennedy was on the ground between 24 and 48 hours, not 10 days. So he lied again. And once again, and the only thing he did during that.
All right, so I'll stop sharing this now. All right, let me pull my notes up here so I can make sure. All right, so that is Brent, who has been just crushing this and has been nailing the facts one after another about what has happened with some of these claims, saying that this idea that 7 busloads of people were all brutally tortured and murdered in the streets is simply in no way, shape, or form true. So that got me a little bit curious. That got me thinking. I was like, okay, is there anyone I can speak to who's on the ground? Well, it turns out there is. I got linked up with someone who had to deal with Tim personally and is a member of the U.S. military. I'm not going to give you their name. I'm not going to give you their unit. I don't even want to say where they are because I don't want them to get anything out there. But I asked point blank about people being tortured and murdered that were supposed to be on the buses. I didn't bring up Brent's comment at all. Didn't let him know that the claim was already out there, that wasn't true. I'm going to tell you, he told me that, yeah, there was some violence sporadically around. There were people who were killed, but they were hundreds and hundreds of meters away. Not one person, this is a word for word quote, none from the buses. Furthermore, he said he was not only turned around by a colonel, but also made a few commanders, but also by a few commanders because he had no actual credentials to access restricted gates. That comes from someone on the ground during the collapse of Afghanistan. This is not a random person. This is not a Reddit rumor. This is someone who was on the ground saying that Brent's story that you just heard is 100% accurate, that everyone on the buses lived, even though Tim Kennedy claims they were all tortured and murdered. Here's something else Tim Kennedy might want to figure out a way to explain. Let's throw this up on the screen. Look at the red circle on the screen. This was sent to me by someone in Afghanistan at the airport in the collapse. Tim Kennedy has got an AK-47, seemingly no spare magazines for it. How he got an AK-47, we're going to get into in a second. And he is with uniformed members of the United States military. I was told by someone there, Tim allegedly claimed that he was with the State Department. Tim Kennedy, as far as I know, is not a State Department employee, never has been a State Department employee. So I asked the person who sent me this photo. This photo has been shared around other Instagram accounts. I was not the first person to show it, but the person did give me the photo and say, yes, I am the one who took that photo right there. That is my photo. And I asked him, I was like, were any other civilians running and gunning around, carrying weapons? He said no. He said that there were CIA people that were there. There was a element to some degree of contractors that were there, and they were in one compound. Then you had Delta Force guys who weren't dressed in the same uniforms you're seeing now that you're seeing here. They were sometimes in shorts, T-shirts, but had some level of camo. I assume that meant kit, like the plate carrier kits. And obviously they are armed incredibly well. So this is a photo. Again, guys, you can see my Instagram at the bottom of the screen, David_Hookstead, as well as my ex. Make sure to keep sending in the super chats. I love reading these. How did Tim Kennedy get on a U.S. military controlled airbase, get his hands on an AK-47, and seemingly, I guess, just he's armed now? He's armed now. A civilian is on a U.S. controlled airport, Hkaya, I believe as they call it. He's on that airport base, and he's got an AK-47. And when I asked the guy who took this photo if he saw any other civilians with a gun, his answer was no. Even the people who might have looked like they were, i.e. dudes in Delta dressed down from the regular military gear, or CIA guys or contractors that were assigned to do certain things, they were all there legitimately. and had paperwork proof. Obviously, Delta guys don't need paperwork. They're there with the military. Hold on one second. They're there with the military. Well, how did Tall Tale Timmy get his hands on a gun? That's very interesting. Let's talk about that right now. Let me throw this up on the screen. This is from a Coffee or Die profile of what happened. I'm going to read this to you. And then let me check my notes so I know where we're going. We're going to get into more questions here shortly. And so if anyone has more questions, please make sure to send them now. This is from a Coffee or Die profile. The three dudes greet Kennedy's team with enthusiasm and give them AK-47s, night vision optics, and maps to the airport. From there, the 12 volunteers are essentially given free reign to do whatever they can for the orphans, government workers, and stranded Americans they can come to help evacuate from the imploding country. They immediately, this line, it's good for Tim's sake. This is not a direct quote. This line in this profile says they immediately find a hidden path that they can use to sneak evacuees past both Taliban and American checkpoints to the airport. This Coffee or Die profile claims what Tim is doing is sneaking past American checkpoints. Again, this is not Tim saying this. This is not a direct quote. I want to be crystal clear about that. So now we've got a guy who is armed. I would love to know the legality of that. What is the legality of a guy who at this time, I believe Tim is back in the National Guard at this time, but I don't know for sure. Over there, but what I do know for sure is he's over there as a civilian. He is not with the U.S. military in a U.S. military capacity. He's got his hands on a weapon, and he is, according to this profile, finding a way to circumvent American checkpoints. Obviously, circumventing Taliban checkpoints, that's one thing. Circumventing American checkpoints, that's a whole different deal. This is, I just don't know. I mean, let me see if I can find he says that he got them from operators. Here we go. So this is a quote. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. This is a quote from Tim Kennedy about it. Okay, upon landing, Kennedy recognizes the familiar swagger of special operations veterans. Three dudes walk up, all reeking of special operations, he writes. This is from the book. Operators move differently. They talk differently. They seem chill and on edge all at the same time. They still maintain the bravado of the infantryman, but it's more relaxed, almost laissez-faire in nature. So does he claim in his book? Can someone let me know in the chat? Does TK claim in his book that he actually circumvented American checkpoints? I didn't even know that. I honestly did not know that. But please, if that's in the book, please let me know in the comments. I'm only able to see super chats right now, but I want someone to explain to me, is it normal for civilians to be handed out guns? Is it normal for a guy to get on a U.S. military controlled installation and there are people there not with the military, not with the CIA, not with Delta Force, who have guns? Is that normal? Like, is it just a free for all where you can just get an AK? I'd like a free AK. Can someone get me a free AK? So we've got Brent, and again, I have to give so much credit to Brent. We've got Brent talking about how he was not there for 10 days, how his claim that all these people were tortured and killed is not real. That claim is backed up by the person who took that photo you all saw that directly had to deal with Tim Kennedy at one point. And I'm going to add it back here for anyone who didn't miss it. This photo could be a problem. You can see the gun clear as day. Now, I blacked out these people's faces. There's no need for them to be involved in this. I'm sure they don't want to be involved. Hold on one second. The fiance's texting me. I got to respond real quick. Sorry, the fiance is texting me. We shall see. I don't know if the fiance is watching it. She's probably a little bit busy right now. But if you know the answer to whether or not people can just get guns at Hkaya and whether or not that's real, you go ahead and let me know. You go ahead and let me know whether or not that's normal. And I'm going to read. I'm going to actually give me a second. I'm going to hop up. I'm going to refill some water. I'm still hot in here. I'm going to refill some water, and then I'll be back here real quickly. Give me probably 30 seconds to get some water, and I'll be back. And then we're gonna close the loop on Tim Kennedy. We're gonna summarize what we've talked about, and then we've got another thing to talk about. So hit all the super chats you got, all the chats you got. Give me a minute tops, and then I'm gonna be right back. So just stick with me here. Stick with me here. I'm only going away for a second. Got to get some water. All right, I'm back. I am back. Thank you guys for understanding. Just had to get some water. So we shall, and again, I can't tell you where I got this photo. I don't think other people who've posted it publicly revealed where I got this photo. I'll tell you something else I heard from a handful of people, multiple sources. Someone should interview Tim Kennedy and ask him on the record what interactions he had on the ground with potential tier 1 operators. Has that ever been mentioned? I don't want to say, I'll be curious. And if Tim wants to come on here and, okay, here we go. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. This comes from Door Gunners Incorporated. No, we had to have an LOA authorizing weapons and carry permits issued by Afghan Ministry of Interior. However, ANA, ANP were ditching them everywhere at Hkaya. So Door Gunner Incorporated, if you're in the comments, I want to ask you, I'm watching, were you at Hkaya? I'm looking for Door Gunner Incorporated. If you were at Hkaya, let me know in the comments. Okay, they're also saying no. If you were sent overseas. Okay, here we go. Here's the other thing, guys. If you are at Hkaya, my DMs are open on Instagram and Twitter. You can see Instagram, David_Hookstead, XD Hookstead. If you were at Hkaya, I want you to send me a message. I want you to give me as much information as you can, and that would be outstanding. I'm asking Door Gunners Incorporated, if you're still here, if you're still watching, please. Okay. So, okay. Do please. I see your response. You DM me on Instagram, DM me on X, and I would love to see those documents. This is why this chat is so important. We've got people jumping in right now. So we've got people letting us know what's going on. We are going to get as much proof as we possibly can. So let's run through the notes of the Tim Kennedy block of the show. Just hang with me here for a second. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. It means a lot. And this is why this group of guys is so unbelievably cool. And all right. So let me pull up my notes. Here's what we've got. Tim Kennedy. claimed on national TV he got shot in Afghanistan. Travis, I know you're watching, Travis, or I believe you're still watching. Let me pull up if he knew about the shot thing. I think I texted him that. No, he didn't respond to whether or not Tim had been. I texted him the thing about Tim claiming he'd been shot. He didn't say anything in direct response to that. So we've got Tim claiming he was shot on national TV. We have his military records, shows no such thing ever happened. We've got one story with this rifle now is going to be incredibly fascinating to me. We've got the video on his YouTube, which I had not seen until a super chat. And I love everyone in the super chats. You guys are the best. Hopped in there and dropped that in. And now it's in that video, it's a young adult man, low-level Taliban fighter, a child, and a clear adult military-age male. In the video is Sean Ryan. It turns out to be an 12-year-old with a weapon that, I guess from 600 yards away, he was using to dominate the forces on the ground. Let me just text Travis real quick. I'm going to ask him any response to Tim's claims children were dominating you in Afghanistan. We'll see. I don't know if Travis is still watching, but I just texted him whether or not Travis agrees that children were beating the shit out of, he says never, ! So Travis, the ground force commander, heavily disagrees with the idea that children were destroying the most well-trained, well-equipped military on the planet. On top of that, we've got the 100 rounds a night or 100 bodies, couple rounds into every body a night, happening many nights. In the book, it's a one-time incident. Travis says it doesn't matter because it never happened at all, and we don't even know the name of the guy on the thermals. Very interesting. Travis has said twice on the record that it never occurred. And then we've got Brent going on about Afghanistan, teasing a big episode. I cannot wait for that. And we've got confirmation that from multiple sources that nobody from the buses was murdered and tortured, and they all made it home. That comes directly from Brent's people and from someone I talked to that sent me that photo of Tim with a weapon that we can't seem to find out the source of. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, I'm going to read. We do have a new super chat. I'm going to get this guy off the screen. All right, super chat. Tim Kennedy did 2 combat jumps into Lexington and Concord. Look, if Tim Kennedy fought in the Revolutionary War, we wouldn't even have needed George Washington. That war would have been over in probably an hour. Everyone would have been back by breakfast time. You would have had a little morning coffee, and that would have been the end of it. So that's where we're at on Tim Kennedy. I am telling you, I am in direct contact with the United States military. I'm in direct contact with Army Special Operations Command multiple times. I have put in requests for every single document that they have, every single document they possibly could have out there. I have asked for, and we are going to get to the bottom of this. And it is my pledge to you guys, every document they send me, I'm going to put up on this screen here for you, and you guys will be able to see it all. But he's not the only one in the news, is he? No, he's not. We've also got Rob O'Neill in the news. Oh, Shelby said sigh. Shelby, the fiance, Shelby wants to do something later. Shelby, if you're watching, we are going to do something later, but the stream's cooking right now. Everyone in the comments, say hello to Shelby. She's sacrificing. She's saying that, she's sacrificing for me being here as well. All right. So Rob O'Neill. Rob O'Neill. Listen, I've talked about my interviews with Rob. We are going to get into that right now and a little bit extra. There's one part of the story about the bin Laden raid that Rob has told repeatedly. So guys, just to be clear, we're now going into the Rob O'Neill, some investigating I've done into Rob O'Neill. There's one part of the story with Rob O'Neill that's I've always questioned. I've always heard it, and I'm just like, is that true? Can it be true? and it is the using of a wife as a human shield. Here's why this is critically important. I think the true story of Osama bin Laden, and when we find out what happened to her, that is going to blow the bin Laden raid wide open. Why? For those of you who don't know, Osama bin Laden was shot on the raid. She was shot on the 3rd floor of the raid. She was in, before the shooting occurred, she was in the bedroom with, hold on one second. Okay, so Travis is saying if there had been children all over the battlefield, children being used as combatants effectively would light up every intel dashboard of concern across that theater of war. So if there were 11-year-olds running around with weapons, he is saying they would have known about it. It would have been documented. It would have been relayed to everyone. So that's more further context. So Osama bin Laden got shot on the 3rd floor. She was, when the raid started, in Osama bin Laden's bedroom. These are not facts that are in dispute. She was 100% shot. Why is this important? If you get shot by a 77 grain tip round, I believe they call them black tips, is what SEAL Team 6 and Delta use. If you guys know, please let me know if I got that right. 77 grain black tip rounds. If she was shot in the leg, how is she on her feet being used as a human shield? Before we get into it, let's show Rob's comments.
Zero Dark 30, they show.
All right. He's actually going to say a couple things here that are very interesting. This interview, I think, was from 2021. I believe it was when I was working at the Daily Caller with Tucker Carlson, Neil Patel. They were running it, or Tucker did leave by then. Neil Patel was still there. We're going to get into Tucker here shortly, and let's roll these comments.
Because in Zero Dark 30, they show that where the sun peeks around and the guy just smokes them right away.
They sort of did. I mean, I think Zero Dark 30 was made by guys that knew guys that were on the raid. I don't think anyone on the raid helped. I mean, hey, if the movie's on.
So I'll stop it right there. What Rob was about to say is that he doesn't think anyone on the raid helped him. That sounds like he was going to say, but they talked to people who knew people that were on the raid. I can tell you for a fact, from a CIA source of mine, this is a fact, there was at least one member of the raid who spoke to the filmmakers. This comes from someone I know at CIA who also met with the filmmakers, and they said there was a SEAL Team 6 person on the raid who was involved, and they did speak to him. Could have been more, but there was at least one. All right, let's go. Also, by the way, I want to give a shout out here. Let me move this mic real quick. I'm wearing my Red Dawn shirt. Bought that from Super 70 Sports for 4th of July last year. Super 70 Sports, the guy does a show for Outkick. You can watch it. He has cool shirts. This is my favorite one. Wolverines, Red Dawn. Always giving a shout out to Red Dawn, as you can see right there. All right. So Rob said he didn't think they talked to anyone. They did. I can tell you that for a fact.
I'm watching it. It's good. But it didn't quite go down like that. And then we didn't whisper to Osama at the end. But they did whisper to Khalid, confused him. Brilliant tactics. And then we went to the floor where Khalid was living. Everybody except the number one man went right and left to clear, because you don't want to leave unknown spaces as you go up. But we're in a hurry, so maybe they will. And I ended up being one guy behind him, and his job as the point man is to point forward, and everywhere his gun looks, he looks, but he's holding security up. My job is to look back and have positive control, so I can tell him when we have enough guys, I don't need to say anything. I just squeeze him. Now we're up. And so it's him and me.
So it's nonverbal communication.
So right now, Rob is saying, this is the story he's told many times, it's just him and the point man. It's just him and the point man, who's often identified as Red. Okay? Red and Rob. They're the only people up there. And this comes right after Khalid bin Laden got shot by the point man on the stairwell. there's no dispute that the point man shot Khalid in the stairwell. That is a fact. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't like, even in combat, other than Marines in heavy combat, because they don't have radios, they have to yell, and Marines are just awesome. But I don't like when guys make a lot of noise, because you might as well be yelling where you are. So
Right.
just everyone, like if you turn a corner and go up and someone yells stairwell, don't yell that. I'm just going to assume it's a stairwell because you're pointing up. So
Right.
and then this is years of tactics. Anyway, the point man saw above him, at the top of the stairs wasn't a door, it was a curtain. And he could see people moving behind it. And now he doesn't know it's me. He knows it's one of his guys. He doesn't give a shit that it's me.
Who it is.
Right. And I
So in this story, they're holding on the door. They can see movement. They think there's people in the room. They think that they got to go now. They got to go now. I think that's what he's saying. We got to go.
know it was never drawn up this way. It's just sometimes life happens. And so I'm here, and he just started talking about how we got to get upstairs, and he eventually convinced me. And I remember looking back, and I wanted 4, I'll take 2. But then I remember he knows we got to go. He's right in front of me, and he was brave. But for me, I remember thinking, not bravery, like here we go. I was thinking, okay, now we're going to blow up, and I'm just tired of thinking about it. Like here, I'm going to know what it feels like to face a suicide bomber. And that was it. And I'd like, go. And so he went up, he moved the curtain, and he tackled the people that he thought were suicide bombers, which to me is probably still the brave.
All right. Let's rewind that and think about that for just a second.
Faced a suicide bomber. And that was it. And I'd like, go. And so he went up, he moved the curtain, and he tackled the people that he thought were suicide bombers, which to me is probably still the bravest thing.
All right. The point man is the first guy through the door. He thinks, according to Rob, there's 2 potential bombers in the room. He doesn't look to see where is the adult male in the room, and he doesn't shoot the suicide bombers immediately. Does not shoot them. Instead, the point man tackles them, apparently leaves Osama bin Laden, who they think could be armed, untouched, and now there's just one other guy coming in behind them. What if bin Laden's sitting in the corner with an AK and sprays the doorway? These are questions that even me, as not a tactical expert, I'm thinking, okay, this guy who just smoked Khalid isn't dropping bodies anymore. Now he's just pushing people away.
I've ever seen.
Balls the size of basketball.
Honestly, in his defense, if and when I don't think he's the type of guy that doesn't ever want to be public, but they need to review this and potentially put him in for Medal of Honor, because that's amazing. So he went forward, and simply because he went this way, I went that way. And right there is Osama bin Laden in a doorway, 3 feet in front of me. And he's got his hands on his, I can close my eyes and see it whenever I want. So he's standing up, his arms are on Amal bin Laden, his wife. And you'll actually, if you look up her interview, she says the exact same thing from her point of view, which.
Oh, hold on, Rob. If you look up her interview, she says the exact same thing from her point of view. That's interesting. Keep in mind, there's only 2 people there. There's only 2 people there. We're going to pull up what he's referring to.
Crazy. But I saw him, and the way that my rules of engagement went was he's skinnier than I thought. He's a lot taller than I thought. His beard is white. That's his nose. He's not surrendering. He's a threat. He's a suicide bomber. I got to take him now. And that was in the blink of an eye. I shot him twice, and I shot him again as I moved her. So twice up here, once down there, and then I started moving her back to the bed, because it's a weird sixth sense.
Okay, so Rob is now just shot Osama bin Laden 3 times. His wife, who we know is shot in the raid, is being used as a human shield. Rob, after he kills bin Laden, moves her off to the side to a bed. Doesn't make any reference to her being shot. Okay, so this woman, who's a tiny, small woman, at some point takes a round in the leg, and yet apparently is still on her feet being used as a human shield. Rob then moves her to the bed, doesn't say anything about noticing a gunshot wound of any kind. And guys, we're going to do some more super chats. I'm going to answer all your questions. If you send a super chat, it 100% will get answered. I promise. So send those super chats. We'll get into more of them.
You can sort of tell who's a threat and who's not. And I could just tell that she's not. Yeah. And then.
So she's not a threat, but someone shot her. Good to know.
And then the craziest part, I don't care which target you're going after or how bad he was.
Okay. So that's the end of that. All right. Let's find. What did Osama bin Laden say? Let me make sure I'm not jumping out of order here real quick. So this is according to Osama bin Laden. When the Navy team entered the room, she tried to rush them, but was shot in the leg and passed out. What? Hold on a second. She wasn't a threat, and Rob moved her to the bed and says her version of events back him up. I'm sorry, what? When the Navy team entered the room, she tried to rush them, but was shot in the leg and passed out. When she came to, bin Laden was already dead. That's from a report that is of her version of events. All right. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's look at this. On Sunday, when the U.S. Navy SEALs moved in, Amal Ahmed was in the bedroom with bin Laden when she reacted with apparent fury. In the room with bin Laden was bin Laden's wife, said White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. She rushed one of the U.S. assaulters and was shot in the leg, but not killed. A woman on the first floor was killed in combat. Guys, she was either being used as a human shield and was no threat whatsoever, or she rushed the assault force and one of the Navy SEALs shot her. But this is important. There's only 2 people in the room. According to Rob, Red never fires a shot in the room. Rob comes in, sees her being used as a human shield, and immediately shoots bin Laden in the head, then moves her to the bed. She's not a threat. She's on the bed. In order to believe Rob's story, we have to account for this magical bullet. Red, the point man, never fires in his story. Rob comes in, kills bin Laden. The situation's done. She's on the bed. She's moved out of the way. She's not a threat. How the fuck did she get a hole in her leg from a rifle? Rob didn't shoot her. He says the point man never fired any shots. Can someone explain how those 2 things could possibly be true at the same time? Because the U.S. government went on record and said she rushed an assaulter and got shot for it. She says she rushed an assaulter and got shot for it. Was never used as a human shield. So if Rob didn't shoot her, did Red coming through the doorway, who never fired a shot according to Rob? That's awfully interesting. We've got one guy, the point man, who never pulls the trigger after killing Khalid, according to Rob. And we've got Rob, who didn't shoot her, but she's got a hole in her leg. Only 2 people in the room in his story. I would like to know, hit me with some super chats if you think there are, how you think this magical bullet theory comes into account. But actually, we have some more information on this. I got to give Jeremy Sladen and Matt Kubler a shout out here, because let me make sure I've got the right timestamp. Okay, I'm going to share this on the screen. Let me share this on the screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm going to add it to the screen. A lot of buttons here. All right. So I'm not the first one to find this incredibly odd, that this woman, who we know for a fact was shot, but yet no one can account for the bullet that hit her. Let's play the comments. Let me make sure it's up.
Than anything. I've got a quick question for you, Rob, as I'm piecing this together, and both of you guys have studied this a lot more than me. Matt studied. Rob, you were there. Two different things. When you're talking about a mall, even major news sources have said she was on the ground, she was shot. I've never really heard you say whether you shot her or not, but that's the first time I've ever heard you say, and it sounded to me as if you said, you're talking about that gap, that she was shot when you first looked up and you said, there's Osama bin Laden. And she had been.
Well, I mean, I didn't see her get shot either. I saw her shot when I got in there.
But she was standing because you said he had his hands on.
He had his hands on her. Yeah.
Okay.
She wasn't on the ground. I put her on the bed.
Tough chick.
So I think yeah. It's so
tough chick. That's quite the line from Jeremy. This woman takes a 77 grain black tip through the leg, and for some reason is able to be on her feet and is being used as a human shield. And yet nobody can account for this bullet, because to be clear, Rob has said a couple different things before, that there were shots fired from the hallway where bin Laden was, and then that there weren't. So is he going to say now that there were or weren't? I don't really know. But the reality of the situation is shockingly simple the way I see it and the way I look at it. Rob's story can't be true. And I had a guy from the raid, I'm not going to tell you who it was. I had a guy from the raid tell me, he called me after Rob's Tucker interview and said, essentially, the story many people have heard. Bin Laden got clipped in the hallway by the point man, disappears. Point man then comes in to follow his shots, and bin Laden is engaged again multiple times on. Okay, so guys, did I say this? Guys, I apologize. If you know the ammo, if I'm making a mistake on the ammo, it's totally accidental. Please get me the name of the ammo in the comments. I will correct myself. I apologize. I thought that someone that's what it was said. She takes the round, but it doesn't change anything. She gets hit. Or I'm sorry, I'm losing it's a 70. Okay, these guys are going off all. He said that then they entered the room because that's what they do, follow their shots, and more rounds are fired at that point. But that the point man engaged from the hallway. That is apparently not up for debate among the guys who were there. That that's what they believe. That's what they witnessed. And here's the other thing. This person said. There was a mad scramble from the second floor to the third floor. And every SEAL who could get to the third floor rushed up there, to the point one of the people I don't want to get too specific here. One guy had to hold extra security on the second floor, essentially, because all the SEALs were ripping past them to get up there. So is that possible with just two people? Does it sound like, and this is a phone call I took this week. This week, I believe on, was it Thursday? Yeah. This was on Thursday. And this is from the view of a guy who was there, watched it go down. I don't want to give more details than that. I don't want to give this guy's identity away. That's what he said. This gets a little more interesting. Let's throw this up on the screen. So do we all remember this tweet? This was on June 1st of this year. Rob O'Neill, do you really want me to tell Red's story? I'll tell it. I kept that MFer out of prison. I'll tell it. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. What do you mean by that, Rob? What do you mean you kept him out of prison? What do you mean that if you tell his story, he's going to go to prison? What I think he's trying to imply, and I don't know because he didn't get into details, is that the point man is responsible for that shot, the magic bullet. Again, though, here's why that's a problem. Rob has had varying versions, including ones where there's no shots from the point man. That Red did not engage after Khalid. He tackles the women. Why would that keep him out of prison? You just said he deserves the Medal of Honor. So I will also tell you that from what I've been told from guys there were a total of 4 men in the room. 4 men who engaged, with the first shot coming from the hallway. In fact, let me see if I can do this real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up. Give me a second. All right. Stay with me here. All right. I'm going to try to share my screen. Add to stage. Oh, got to remove. This is investigative journalist Matthew Cole on the Team House. Let's see what he has to say.
As the SEAL operator who fired into bin Laden and effectively killed him in Pakistan in 2011. He was at the head of the stack that went up. I think, in fact, as it happens, he also shot bin Laden's son on the second deck. And as I understand it, and I think as I reported in the book, he fired 2 shots, at least 2 shots. The first hit bin Laden, grazed him somewhere, not quite clear if it was the hip or the leg, but then he got him center mass. And at that point, bin Laden fell back into the room and onto the ground, a key detail, because everyone else who came into the door afterwards fired into him while he was down on the ground, according to my sources. And although it's no longer available, I will tell you that on Twitter about a year ago, a member of the unit who was there confirmed my version of what was reported and what the version that's in this book, and describes O'Neill, I think, as being the 4th guy through the doorway and the 4th man to shoot bin Laden. So Red.
Let me pause this right here. It says, this is from a guy on the raid. I know the name of this guy. It's blurred out here. I'm not going to share it. Rob did not shoot UBL first. The first man in the room shot him center mass first. Biz shot center mass second. Rob was number 4. Rob did shoot him in the head after 3 others shot him. We had agreed to not shoot the head or the face to preserve 4+ ID reasons. Now that story is believable because in that situation, bin Laden's already been hit, goes back in the room. They rush in. The wife rushes out, rushes at him. She's hit. They fire security shots. So pretty odd. I will say it's pretty odd. But why don't we stop sharing this? And I have another video. We're going to go back to this one. This is also from Jeremy and Matt. And this is something I talked about the other day. I'll be answering super chats soon. So if you guys have any good super chats, please send them in now. We got to go to about 1:33. All right. I'm going to share the screen. All right. Let me add it up here. So remember the other day when I said there's a video I was told about by a member of the mission, and that video will be the smoking gun of exactly what happened? Well, I got good news for everyone. Watch this.
Guys,
Okay,
hey, Rob, hey guys, 1 second. That was very important, and we had a glitch in the matrix there. Rob, go back if you don't mind. Let's kind of get the feed here going. Okay, I think we're good. Rob, pick up what you said about McCraven.
Yeah, we had a debrief in JBAD and in Bagram. The big one was in Bagram, in a private room, and I think it was just Ground Force Commander and our Command Master Chief. I don't think McRaven was in there.
Okay.
Okay. So, no, I know for a fact about the Command Master Chief. Now that was recorded, and from what I was told from several people, that when the debriefing was going on and you offered your portion of that, what happened, that it was never mentioned that you killed Osama bin Laden in that recorded debrief. Do you recall that at all?
Yeah, I recall the recorded debrief, and I know shit. When we got done recording it, I said to myself, I'm immediately going to regret this. But we do our best at cleaning up debriefs to avoid. We don't know what's going to happen on a mission this big, and we don't know if people threw errant shots.
Interesting. Very interesting. So Rob acknowledges in this video, which I promise you exists, that he does not take credit for killing Osama bin Laden in an attempt to cover up what could be errant shots. Is that referring to the wife? Is that referring to someone else? Is it referring to they don't know? I spoke to someone who, again, from the mission, he said that video, if it goes public, it's the end of it. And I've heard from 2 other people that in that video, Red, the point man, is doing almost all the talking. And in the video, he says he got Osama bin Laden. That is what I've been told from people who were there in the briefing and on the mission. I am working desperately hard to get that video. Obviously, I would have to censor some things potentially. We've got FOIA requests in. And here's another little doozy. Well, I don't know if I should say this. Let me think about it for a second. I'm trying to think if I can word this a certain way. No, I'm not going to say it. I have reason to believe, I'll say this. I have reason to believe that the U.S. government has that recording still, and it is FOIA eligible. I'm not going to get into why I think that, but that comes from someone with better knowledge than I have. But if we don't get it that way, we will see if we can track it down or if anyone has it. But I was told in no uncertain terms that the point man is all over that recording explaining how bin Laden was killed. That recording has never been made public. Probably fewer than 50 people on the planet have ever heard it, would be my guess. Not good. Not good. But we shall see. So that's where we're at on that. The wife thing, let me stop sharing this. Who shot the wife is going to tell you in no uncertain terms how this unfolded. End of story. And it'll show you who's telling the truth and who's not. And I cannot wait. All right, I just got some documents. I can't show them on the screen right now. Okay, I'll have to put those in a follow-up, but it is, someone has sent me the documents from the need of carrying weapons on Hkaya. This is good stuff. I'm going to have to look at those probably at a different time. So I'm trying to hunt this down as much as I can. And again, guys, I'll start answering questions here soon. If you guys have any, super chats are great. $1, $5, $10 really helps us grow the show, which is a critically important thing. I'm hunting it down. I'm putting in the work. I promise you, I'm putting in the work. I'm doing the best I can. And this has been a hell of an episode. Hell of an episode. We're good. We got Tim Kennedy inconsistencies. We've got Rob O'Neill inconsistencies. The floodgates for the truth are coming wide open. The floodgates of what actually happened are coming wide open. It is my dream to get on the phone. It would be the ultimate goal to get on the phone with Red. I don't think that's going to happen yet. I do know who he is. I've had his name confirmed by multiple sources. I know what he's doing for a living right now, or up until recently have been doing for a living right now. I don't even want to get into what he looks like or specifics of that. But the term red, I will say it's the term red, people say it has to do with because it was Red Squadron. That is not true. That is not why the point man's call sign was red. There is a very telling reason his name was red. And if he ever goes public, that reason will be very, very, very obvious. All right, we'll do a couple questions here. We'll do this will be the 5th block of the show. We'll get into just some random stuff I had jotted down. That is a lot of the big stuff. Please, if you got questions, send them in the chat. I'm going to answer as many as I can. Super chats, I'm going to try to get them. Someone said Red is still active. He is not still active, retired a few years ago. I know that for a fact as well, due to what he's doing for a living right now. That is he is not still in the teams. I can promise you that. All right, let's see what we got here. I do want to do a little bit of someone said Red is a good dude. Here, this is actually a good question. Someone said, if you got questions about the Bin Laden raid and you want them answered, send them now. I'll get them. I'll get as many as I can. Why hasn't anyone interviewed Will Chesney, K9 Cairo's handler, in his whole Rob O'Neill debacle? I actually believe Rob and Will did an interview together, and the raid, the actual shooting part of the raid, wasn't really discussed. I've never ever heard them. People are starting to close in the chats. I better be. Here's another one. Are confirmed kills a real metric tracked by the U.S. military or JSOC? No. You know what? I'll tell you this. I've got a great video I can show about this whole confirmed kills bullshit. Hang on one second. Let me find it. This comes from... All right, I'm going to throw this up on the screen. I think this is the right video. Confirmed kills. Let's talk about confirmed kills. You always hear about people saying, oh, I've got 50 confirmed kills. I've got 30 confirmed kills. I've got hundreds. TK one time said hundreds of shootings that he had done. This is a video with Brad Thomas where he talks about confirmed kills. If you don't know who Brad Thomas is, Brad Thomas was an Army Ranger during Black Hawk Down. I've interviewed him a bunch of times. Brad Thomas is, without question, one of the coolest Americans you will ever meet. And not only is he one of the coolest Americans you'll ever meet, he has a ton of experience. After Black Hawk Down, he went to the unit, did a bunch of cool stuff in the unit. To be fair and out of respect to Brad, Brad really doesn't talk about his time at the unit that much. If you guys know who Brad Thomas is, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Brad Thomas is the man. He is literally one of the coolest dudes ever. And unlike a lot of people out there who make up fake fucking war stories, Brad doesn't need to make up anything. And in fact, he does the exact opposite. He doesn't really talk about much of his time in the military outside of Black Hawk Down. And as he'll tell you, the reason he talks about Black Hawk Down is because it's a safe topic for him to talk about. It's a safe topic for him to get into. Let's see what Brad Thomas has to say about confirmed kills.
As an example, I've talked about this in the past too. There is no person who confirms kills. And so, whenever you hear or see that and somebody's like immediate red flag, someone shooting from a doorway and then the door closes and then people peek from the doorway. What do you do in that situation?
I would have no idea. If you're asking me personally, given the context of the situation, I would fire at him. But is that the wrong decision?
Right. And that's so everybody there's a lot of ambiguity on the battlefield. And that's, if I was to say there was a lesson that I learned other than, many other military type of lessons, it would be war is not black and white. And it's very ambiguous. And ultimately you have to live with the things that you did, good, bad, or indifferent. And so, yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of choices that you have to make.
So we'll play the start there real quick where he talks about confirmed kills. Keep in mind, Brad Thomas, I believe, spent 12 years at the tier 1 level. This is not a guy who just walked in off the street. And what's absolutely hilarious, I actually saw a TK defender. Get in the chat and tell me what you think about this. I saw a Tim Kennedy defender talking shit. This is a true story. Talking shit publicly about Tim Kennedy's military record compared to Brad Thomas's. True story. It's on Instagram. Look at the comments. Some Tim Kennedy fan had the balls on him to jump in the comments and talk shit to Brad, like Brad didn't know how the military works. Let's replay the beginning real quick.
Yeah, it was hard, as an example. I've talked about this in the past too. There is no person who confirms kills. And so, whenever you hear or see that and somebody's like immediate red flag, someone shooting from a doorway.
All right, we'll stop it there. All right, we got a super chat. Let me pull this off the screen. If you guys want to hear, I mean, real quick, I just have to say, Brad Thomas is literally one of the nicest humans you will ever meet. And I appreciate the interviews I've done with him. I appreciate the time in those interviews he's given me. In a world where there's a lot of people who are, big egos, arrogant, full of shit, that dude is a straight shooter. If you want to, he runs a band, founded a band, Silence and Light. Check them out. Follow him on Instagram. That dude is a fucking epic American. All right, I'm going to throw this up on the screen. I'm going to address this. Big super chat from Joe Murray. $50. Thank you very much for the super chat. It says, "Hi, Dave. I do enjoy your show, but it's sad to see these relentless attacks on guys like Rob and Tim. From what little I know about these guys, I just thank God that these warriors are on our side. God bless America and all the troops." Huge super chat from Joe. $50, 50 big ones from Joe. I appreciate that, Joe. I will actually address this right now for you all. I'll address this for you all right now. The truth and honesty matter. And when people use stories that are not true to enrich themselves, become famous, whatever it might be, that's something that must be addressed. I'm a capitalist. I like money. I don't say things that aren't true. And I certainly don't say things that aren't true to gain fame, riches, whatever. And Joe, I know you sent this in good faith. It's $50. That is absolutely epic. Joe coming up, I think, with the biggest super chat of the day so far. There might have been one other $50 one. There was one other 50. So the answer 06 and Joe, two biggest super chats of the day. Joe, you think I'm fired up? You should see the DM messages I have from Green Berets who are beyond livid with the fact this is a thing. They think what Tim has done and the stories he has told are unacceptable. And that's why there's been so much backlash. This is not just me. Those guys feel they can't go public. They feel like they will get in trouble. I investigate things for a living. It's what I do. I love going down rabbit holes. So I do the latter part of the statement. I am thankful for every warrior out there. Joe, you hit the nail on the head with that one. 100%. So, but why are we doing this? Because the truth matters. And I'll tell you this. If Tim came out and said, I made it up, I lied about this, and I did it because I wanted to be famous, it'd still be incredibly wrong. And he would have to make a ton of amends. But you know what? It would be the right thing to do. It would be him manning up. It would be the right thing to do. So that's why we're doing this. It's really that simple. See right here. I agree with the latter part, but we can't allow lies. Absolutely. 20 deployments, but Tim only has 3 overseas bars on his dress uniform. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Look at his post when Sergeant Mayer re-up. Only seen 3 overseas bars instead of 6 for 20 deployments. Tim, don't delete the post. I already have it screen recorded. If you do, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Please send that to me. Thank you for the $20. Absolutely huge. The answer 06. I love it. They're saying 2. Is it 3 or it's 2? I don't know. I don't know. But I got to get the comments back up there. That is my bad, guys. I had the comments off. I apologize for that. All right. Couple other things. Yeah, this isn't, people think this is personal. It's not. It's truly not personal. It's about getting the truth out there because I believe the truth matters. And I believe that making sure our military is shown in the best light is what I want to happen. And until it does, we'll keep correcting the record. Now, a lot of you have been asking about Dusty the dog. You've been asking, how's Dusty doing? You don't have AC. You don't have this. You don't have that. Is the dog okay? Dusty's 13 years old. He's an old boy. We got him an Airbnb. He's being taken care of. Unfortunately, there is something Dusty hates, and that is fireworks. And in DC, for those of you who don't know, it seems like everyone in the city has access to fireworks, and they blow up stuff or they blow up fireworks all weekend through the 4th of July. Dusty hates fireworks. They terrify the shit out of him. This was Dusty the other night in the shower on his bed, terrified because the fireworks were so loud and so overwhelming. Everyone say some nice words for Dusty. Say some nice words for Dusty. I got to move the water around here. So you might be saying, why does Dusty have a thing over his head? So we didn't have earplugs, obviously, and I don't think he would have kept them in. So my fiance rigged up this little towel contraption, and she's in the other room. Text me how well this worked, because I also had to do this, and it didn't work great at first for me when I was doing it, but it did work better eventually. But the goal here was to use the towel to block up the noise. We got them saying Dusty joined the Taliban. Dusty hates the Taliban. There are a few things in life Dusty hates more than the Taliban. I can promise you that for a fact. But yes, this is Dusty. This is what Dusty's been up to. Hold on. I worked with Timmy, was there for the whole thing in the dojo, got proof. Timmy never fired a single shot and spent nights at the base or holding the perimeter. That says that's Tarvo. Tarvo, my Instagram is below. David_Hookstead or Twitter D Hookstead. If that is true, what is on the screen right now, if that is true, my DMs are wide open. I read my DMs because I know there's messages out there. Please, if that is true, send me the proof. I would absolutely love to see it. All right, let's get a few more super chats, hopefully, and then we will wrap this up. My fiance wants to head out. She said she's starving. But yes, people are asking about poor Dusty. The AC update. I know you guys are all curious about the AC update. Hold on, I got to get a sip of water. Okay, come on. We got Lou saying that Dusty's just for Sharia law, no fireworks. He is not for Sharia law. Dusty told me he is not for Sharia law at all. Nice super chat here. $5 from Swinters 07. Little late. Is Red the point man in front of O'Neill and he jumped on the bombers? And 2, the guy who may have killed bin Laden? Yes. Red was the first person in the stairwell who killed the son, Khalid bin Laden, and then went to the 3rd floor. And according to other people there who did engage bin Laden first, and his call sign, code name, whatever you want to call it, was red. That is what they called him there. So that is correct. Let's see what else we got here. What do we got? Dusty for the win. Dusty's a good boy. Dusty's a damn good boy. Hopefully we don't have to hear fireworks anymore, and that'll be the end of that. So update on the AC situation. We just got a few more minutes left. If you send in any super chats, I will read them. I will read every super chat that comes through. That is, as I say, my pledge to you guys. If you send a super chat, it absolutely will not be ignored. All right, AC situation. The AC situation, quite frankly, is starting to piss me off. We haven't had AC for probably a month and a half at this point, and getting it fixed is turning into an absolute nightmare. Now, we do know who is going to eventually fix it, but it requires all this approval and permits, and it's just non-stop insanity. It is hot as hell out right now. And do you guys want to see Dusty on the screen? Do you guys want to see Dusty on the screen real quick? Let me know in the comments. If we get a super chat to see Dusty, I tell you what, if we get one super chat to see Dusty, I'll bring Dusty in. I don't know how much he'll hang out on the screen, though, because it's a little bit elevated. I don't know if he likes elevated position. Well, I don't know. I know he doesn't know like elevated positions, but I will bring him in here. If we get one super chat, I tell you what, you guys can see Dusty for the first time in a long time, and we will see if he's willing to come in here or not. And the other reason he won't stay is because the fiance is in the other room, and he is going to want to run out and hang out with her. But we don't need to bring her if you guys don't want to see her. It's totally up to you guys. So yeah, the AC situation is an absolute disaster, unlike anything you can imagine. But I also want to know, all right, we've got one. Cone Stevens, Dusty gets the magic cheese when the fireworks go off. I tell you what, I'll go get him right now. I'm going to leave the door open. Hold on. He's right here. Don't bring him in yet. I'll get up and grab him. All right. Here he is. Now the reason I got to be careful. I can't lift him up much more. The reason he's looking past the screen is my fiance is standing. My fiance is standing right off camera. Hey, Dusty, can you look to the viewers? Oh, he's yawning now. He's looking right at the viewer. Oh, there we go. So yes, he is here. We brought him in. Dusty the Jack looks at. Do you see how popular you are? He hates being up on this chair because it's a little elevated. But I can't keep him in here for long. We'll bring him back. All right. Could you hear his little feet pattering away? So there you go. We got the super chat. You guys got to see him. I'm going to set a timer. We're going to do 10 more minutes. I will answer a couple questions. Anything you guys want to know, I'm going to set a timer. You've never seen a lines, but remember, super chats, they're going to get priority. If you want a guaranteed response to your question, hit me with a super chat, and I promise you guys will get an answer every single time. That's my vow to you guys. All right, let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any messages. All right. Never seen a Lions fan. Didn't know Lions fans existed. Hold on. They do exist. This is my Lions helmet right there. I'm a huge Lions fan. Someone said Dusty doesn't look like he's 13 years old. Dusty's in great shape. Great shape. But yeah, I would put this on. I'd put it on for y'all, but it would probably mess up my hair. Right. What else we got? Hold on. Feel like I got to sneeze. Gross thing to lie about. Okay. I can do two things at once, my friend. I can worry about that, and I also can deal with the AC. Although we will get it figured out. All right, more questions. We're winding it down. We just got a handful of minutes left. Do I want a Lions Bills Super Bowl? I would just take the Lions being in the Super Bowl. Don't even care who they're playing. Just put them in the Super Bowl, and I will be beyond happy. I will be the happiest man you have ever met in your life. Okay, we got great question. $5 from Jack Sparrow. Hey, bro, do you think Shrek McPhee is legit? I never served in the military, period. So I want to be careful here. Shrek McPhee was in Delta Force. Shrek McPhee was in Tora Bora. That is a fact. That is 100% true. He then left, I believe, went to 7 Special Forces Group, which is where he met Tim Kennedy, obviously. Listen, I heard him on the Megyn Kelly show talking about like secret black helicopters. But you know what? Let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find this. You don't have to take it from me. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Let's see if I can find it. All right, I'm gonna put this on the screen for you all. This is Jamie Caldwell. Let me share my screen. This is one of, share screen. So you don't have to take it from me. All right, this is Jamie Caldwell, former Delta Force operator, talking about his old teammate John McPhee.
Shrek has like completely gone off the radar. Yeah. If anyone wants me to talk about Shrek has like completely gone off the radar. He's on whatever will get him famous. That's all I know. Yeah. He's exaggerating completely.
So there you had Jamie Caldwell again. So that's John McPhee's old teammate. Take it from him. I really can't say much past that. I think his Black Hawk story and Tora Bora whisking people away into the night is insane and most certainly did not happen. Again, there's my Instagram and X. If you guys have information or want to talk to me, give me a follow. I do read my messages. $20 from, I don't know how to pronounce that, Fizz 101 MP. David, we only want Dusty now. Great work on everything. Well, I'll try to get Dusty in here more often, but the thing is, Dusty does not like, I'm on an elevated surface here. Doesn't really look like it, but I am. So you got to hold him up like a lot. He likes to be held kind of like in the, like you're holding him in the chest there. He loves that, loves to be carried around, but he doesn't like to like come up, which is what you got to do to have him see the camera. So I don't think that, and my fiance would tell you it's because he likes her better. Probably true. Probably true. No need to lie. Here we go. Tom Greer speaks highly of Shrek in his book, Kill Bin Laden. It's unfortunate he has since tarnished his reputation. Yeah, look, I know he does. I know Tom Greer also passed away of cancer and was gone far too soon, which is absolutely unbelievably sad and tragic. Tom Greer was, I believe, the ground force commander in Tora Bora. He was certainly there. I don't know if he was the commander or not. I think he was. And then Netflix basically fucked them by leaving out the truth about what Delta Force did in Tora Bora and making it look like 4 guys from the CIA fought 1,000 people. Complete nonsense. All right, let's keep the super chats rolling. I'll keep getting to them. Also, if you guys have topics you'd like to see me talk about, feel free to send them. I'm willing to look into anything. I'm willing to research anything, willing to give anything a shot. So yeah, it looks like the Tim Kennedy clip might now be circulating Okay, very interesting. Is that true? Huh. I don't want to say what I just saw on because I don't know if it's true yet. I don't want to give it anything. Oh, did you guys see the SAS guy talk about how good Delta Force is? Let me pull up this. This was really cool. Let me pull this up. Let me see if I can find it. This is a SAS guy on the Sean Ryan show talking about give me 1 second. All right, so this was on the Sean Ryan show. This might be one of the best this is one of the best interviews I've ever seen. Hold on. Sorry, guys. We've got a lot of stuff coming in right now. I'm going to address that super chat here in a second. I just want to make sure you're DMing the right account because I want to make sure I see this message. All right. Let me share this screen. Share screen. This is an SAS guy talking about Delta and how impressive they are.
Sorry, not Pinehurst. Lived in a house there, embedded myself with the squadron. I was made to feel super welcome. Like, those guys were fucking rock stars. Honestly, I have never been so impressed by a team as I have with those guys there. As assaulters, and I say this with the utmost respect to everyone else, the best assault teams that I've ever worked with, just primarily on shooting and CQB and assaulting, there's nothing on earth that compares to those fucking guys in that unit. And in my team, I had like 4 first draft picks from OTC. So they were fucking rock stars.
Shit.
Yeah, it was super impressive. I remember being humbled the first day I got there. It was like we went and shot a Bianchi cut pistol shoot. And I was okay with the pistol.
All right. So that is him saying, oh, I forgot to mention this. Guys, I just want to bring that clip up because it's talking about how awesome Delta is. And there's all these debates about who's best. A bunch of people messaged me about Tucker's Rob O'Neill interview. Listen, I've known Tucker Carlson for 10 years. He gave me my first job out of college. I'm incredibly close to him. And I know you guys are all commenting here about it. I see it. I'm not ignoring it. Listen, Tucker's a great dude. Tucker is a phenomenal human being. And anyone who's expecting me to criticize him or publicly blast him, that's never going to happen. That'll never happen. It's just not. If I have an issue with something Tucker has said or done, it'll be dealt with and addressed privately. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. Tucker would never platform someone he knew was not telling the truth. Period. If Tucker knew someone was being dishonest, he would never in a million years. Tucker, like most people, hates liars. Hates liars for good reason. And so I don't really know what happened there. I know that Tucker in a million years would never platform someone being dishonest if he knew it. I believe Tucker probably is poking around, asking questions, and that's it. So no, please I don't ever publicly go after anyone I'm close with. I think it's kind of a not classy thing to do. I think that number one, I wouldn't go after him over that anyways. It's his show, it's his business, and it's crushing it. So that's up to him. But I will say this. This is what I will say publicly about Tucker. I would not be where I am today without Tucker Carlson and his business partner, Neil Patel, in terms of a career. That's just a fact. Fact, period, done. Like, that's what it is. So I have all the gratitude in the world for both of them. I have all the respect in the world to both of them. Yes, I saw your comments about them. trust me, Tucker is as straight of a shooter as it gets. And that's just the way, that's just the way it is. So no, I'm not going to come in here and say anything negative. I can tell you that, well, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into private conversations either. He's a great man. He's got a great family. He's got a rock star sweetheart of a wife. I love everything about that man. And yes, I know we interviewed him. Yes, I see everything you guys wrote. No, I will not publicly criticize him. And that's just the way that is. That's just the way it's going to be. End of story. All right. Retired 18Z CSM. Sent you a DM on the platform Musk bought. Okay. It won't let me name it. You won't be disappointed. Also, with McPhee, was in an SMU with him before he retired. He is as legit as they come. So obviously he's referring to X. I'm going to check my messages right now. If you did message me, it's D Hookstead. D Hookstead, not David _Hookstead. That is a fake account. That is not me. Please don't message that account. That is not me. All right. Another super chat. Have you ever looked into Tony Cowden on SRS, Sean Ryan show? It's been bugging me for years how much he's lied. I'm unfamiliar. I honestly don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that whatsoever. So yeah, I can't tell you. All right, we got 5 minutes and then we are done for sure. 5 minutes and then we are done for sure because I got to get out of here. I'm having a blast hanging out with you guys. I just got a text. Yes, my fiance was like, you've got more super chats coming in. So no, I don't know anything about Tony Cowden. I've never met the guy. Don't know who he is. I've only got one DM on X right now. I don't know if this is the guy he's referring to as the person who sent it to me or not. I don't know, so I don't want to say anything. I think that'd be very unfair. But my Instagram handle is David _Hookstead. My Twitter handle is D Hookstead. So please, if you $5, you know, I want to put this guy on the screen. I'm gonna put it on the screen. Let's see what happens. Felt so bad for the SAS guy in SRS. The episode showed how messed up the UK is with operators and what they put them through over nothing. Yeah, that was complete bullshit. He was accused of murder for doing his job. Complete, absolute bullshit. No question about it. Absolutely no question about it. That guy, by all accounts, seems to be an absolute hero. And what they did to him was not just wrong. It was completely and totally disgusting. And he should be ashamed of it 1000%. We've got 3.5 minutes left. If you got any questions, any more chats, let me know. Let me know. And I will read them best I can. I am looking forward to all the new information you guys are sending. Thank you. Okay, just got another DM. You guys are coming in on my DMs now. Let's keep it on YouTube if we can, unless you don't have another way to get to me, at which point you can obviously go there. Winding down. We got anything else? All right. I don't know anything about this Tony Cowden guy. So I'm going to have to tell you, I don't know. I don't want to talk about something I don't know. Again, if you guys want to know anything about topics I should look into, I will look into this. I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him before. This was an absolutely great chat. Last chance for super chats. We're going out in 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. If you send them in, I will make sure I still get to them, and we will see what we can do, and we will look into it. This has been an absolute blast, you guys. I love doing this. Love hanging out with y'all. It gives me not just something to do, but I feel like we're building a really good community here. Again, below Instagram, David _Hookstead. Please, please, please follow me if you want. There's plenty of crazy stuff out there. And we've got what? We got 1:46. So if you got anything else, now is the time to get it in. Now is the time to get in. We're going on almost 3 hours here, but this has been epic. Mike 2348 says, great job today. Thank you very much. It's nice to know that you guys appreciate what we're doing, what we're talking about. I'm having just as much fun. Hopefully you guys are having every bit as fun as well. So yeah, you guys are saying Tim Kennedy lost a shooting match to a CrossFitter. Is that true? Is that true? Listen, I actually wrote something about this. It might not be published yet. I don't remember. I did a shootout. Again, this is the last story I'll tell. And okay, we got a couple super chats rolling in. I'll get to those. But this is the last story I'll tell. We had a female IDF sharpshooter come to the U.S. This was in 2019. And we did a shooting competition. I don't want to get into exactly what happened. She was a great shot. She was also a very nice person. It didn't go the way I think she thought it was going to go. I'll leave it at that. So you're now telling me Tim Kennedy lost to a CrossFitter in a shooting contest. I will absolutely look that up. All right, we're going to hit these super chats, and then I'm going to bounce. $20 from KX. Thanks. Have a great dinner. Thank you very much for the $20. That is a huge super chat. Thank you very much. We've got, I think people now in the chats are saying they're looking it up. Carlos Pupo Carl, $4.99, no comment, just a super chat. Thank you very much. All right, guys, I think I'm going to jump now. This has been awesome. I'm pull this off the screen. This has been awesome. I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You guys have been absolutely incredible. I will see you with a new stream when we have a chance. Have a great day, great Sunday, great, strong start to the week. Love you all. Mike, I literally was about to hit the end button. He came in $19.99. Mike 2348. Thank you, Mike. Now I really am leaving. I will see y'all later. Have a great week.